And last, but definitely not least,
Oh my.
go ahead and say it.
Lucha Underground. Lucha. Lucha.
Lucha, Lucha.
And we're not doing the Lucha Dragon. This is actually their chant.
Yes, and I guess the best thing to do is to start at the beginning. Like when I first saw it, I didn't know what to think of it. I just thought, okay, this is another failed attempt of Lucha USA that a previous company did, but instead of being disappointed or actually no, instead of it getting exactly what I expected, I got something more. Actually, we all got something more than we thought.
Oh my, did we ever.
And okay, we have a lot of superstars in Lucha Underground, but
Almost every one of them, really. I mean, that's because they write it and script everything so well. And the talent is just deep, really deep talent.
yes, so deep that it makes WWE and TNA look like they're running on their last legs by miles. It's like they're ahead of the curve.
And I don't know anything about their backstage, but just from how good the shows come off, I have to imagine there's a similarity between that and like my local Metro Pro Wrestling, where they probably have the wrestlers give input. They're probably open to input, while at the same time there's probably and I communicate with the Metro Pro Wrestling owner sometimes. He's a pretty cool guy. You have to leave your ego at the door. Whether you win, whether you lose, whether you're on first, whether you're in the main event, you have a job. You leave your ego at the door and be part of the team.
And I take it if you don't, they'll punish you.
In terms of Metro Pro Wrestling, he's told me he doesn't badmouth people. He just simply doesn't invite them back.
Oh, wow.
Nice and simple. If you're kind of a cancer in the locker room, in the backstage, if you're not clicking with people, it'll just kind of feel like, okay, we don't need you here. We want a team atmosphere. And I have this hunch. Again, I don't know anything about what goes on behind the scenes at Lucha Underground, but the way the shows come off, I have to believe there is that mentality.
Definitely.
I
I mean,
remember the first show. There were two
yes.
things that stood out right away.
What happened?
Familiarity. First off, you had the announcers, Matt Stryker and Vampiro. I'm like, oh, I recognize these guys.
Oh, yeah.
And the very first match, one of the guys in the match was Chavo Guerrero.
Yeah, we all know who he is and we know how great he is.
So I had that familiarity. So right away, I'm like, ooh, okay. And I think in that first episode, I think Johnny Mundo actually had a match. I'm not for certain, but I think he was seen in the first episode as well.
Okay, well, I mean, for Chavo Guerrero, he was taking on, at the
Was it
time,
Blue Demon?
yeah, Blue Demon Jr. And, at the time it was under friendly circumstances. I mean, it was a clean match, you assumed that they were, faces, so you had a clean match. And then you had Johnny Mundo, as you said, make his first match ever in the first ever main event. And that was against the local kid. And his name is
Prince Puma?
yes.
I was kind of thrown off by local kid. I was thinking like, okay, non big name guy, and I was like, oh wait a minute.
No, Prince of Puma. I mean,
Yes.
so while we know who Johnny Mundo was, we now know who he is now. But at the time, I was like, oh my God, John Morrison, really? And then, of course, we later came to know that Johnny Mundo was a little different than what John Morrison was.
Yeah, as far as character. Although his entrance is identical. Comes out with that coat on, throws his hand in the air, has the wind blowing on him.
Hmm. And yet he's booked differently, much differently than he was in WWE.
Yes, his personality is a little different too.
I got to see more from him in Lucha Underground than I could have ever in WWE. They just did not give him enough of an opportunity to showcase what he can do, not just in the ring, but also in terms of his character, they never really fully developed it, and they did in Lucha Underground.
And Lucha Underground's so good at developing like everybody. And you notice they don't have to do it with 20-minute long promos.
No.
In fact, they do something that to me just blows me away every time I see a backstage segment or a vignette or an out of the arena thing. It is produced like a movie, which on the one hand, you would think, how does something that has the camera shots and all this like a movie, that doesn't fit in pro wrestling. But yet when you watch Lucha Underground, it fits perfectly.
Yes, it fits in terms of the myth and the mythic characters. I guess it's
Yeah.
to give it more larger than life and expand upon that more or less.
And kind of like with the, some of the somewhat supernatural type personalities of the characters and things that happen. Yeah, they're not realistic, but it's like we know what pro wrestling is. The thing is, and we talked about this earlier at some point about making you feel something. That's what I often say.
Yes.
You do care about these characters. You either hate them or you love them, but you're completely intrigued by them. But then when they're in the ring, it's like you just get this great wrestling. It's not movie based in the ring. It's, your typical lucha style, which is a lot of aerial type stuff. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing at what some of these guys can do. I mean, we mentioned we know what Johnny Mundo can do. He has this parkour style that's his and his alone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then there's Prince Puma who can do just a little bit of everything, and
Yes.
and that's what made him a great champion. But of course, just having that is not enough. But he also had a mouthpiece because
Conan,
yeah,
another familiar guy from the past.
yes, he acted more like a sensei to him.
Uh huh.
And the fact that Prince Puma can't talk, it's like his actions speak louder than words. Now, not very many guys can do that where one's actions speak louder than words, but Prince Puma, he kills it every single time.
And that's another thing in WWE that kind of won't allow that for a main eventer. It's like you have to be able to promo. I'm like, why? If you have an amazing talent that can tell the story, and I mean, pro wrestling is about telling a story in the ring as much as anything else.
Let him do it.
Yeah.
Let him do it. And then there's the other characters like Big Rick. Now, we knew him once as Ezekiel Jackson, but Big Rick, he's kind of like this Godfather character, but he's a brute.
Yeah.
You can't make it any simpler than that.
And he doesn't do the high flying stuff, but within the realm of Lucha Underground, it's perfect because it's like counterpoint to the other guys. He'll just mow you down. They'll try to do something on him, and he'll just catch them and throw them on the ground.
No doubt. And then no doubt. And then there's Killshot, very cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like in fact, just the fact that the guys that have unique names like Killshot, you know what he can do because he always is accurate in pinpoint because his name is Killshot. It's like some of the guys' names just tell you what they are.
Yep.
And they book it in such a way that it's like, yes, you know who you are and nothing more than that. And I like
How
it.
about the one character, El Jefe, Dario Cueto?
Oh yeah, like it's a much more.
Granted, he's the typical heel owner, but he is so unique because, first of all, he is so just slimy in what he does. But it doesn't mean he always stacks a deck for the bad guy. Because you've seen times where the good guy comes in, wants a piece of someone, and says, "I promise you violence." That's what Dario Cueto likes. He likes violence. So if you come in and promise him a fight, even if you're the good guy, he'll be like, "All right, I'll give you your fight."
Yes. Or if it has something to do with money and you're willing to pay that, he'll do it for you. And
So
or
he's not like a straight out full on heel like the Authority in WWE. He is very heelish because heels tend to do things he likes. But he's more about, like you said, money and violence. If you're the good guy and you promise him some of that, okay, we'll go your way. Of course, you can also scare him to death into something.
Oh, yes, like Mil Muertes, or rather his,
Oh,
or I'm sorry, more like his manager Katrina. Now Mil Muertes, I'm not gonna say he's the Undertaker of Lucha Underground, but he's damn near close to it.
yeah.
Maybe not in terms of his move set, because no one can ever be as good as the Undertaker. But Mil Muertes, when you see him, it's like, oh shit, I better get out of here.
Yeah.
It's like if he comes for you, Rick, you're dead.
Yeah, you better have an escape plan.
And then,
And what wasn't it him and Phoenix in that casket match?
yeah, that legendary casket match, that was incredible. And the
The
fact
what
that,
was it? Grave consequences. That was the best casket match I ever saw.
yeah, it blows every casket match that has ever happened out of the water. It's just like,
It's because WWE uses this format. Whenever they've had one, pretty much most of them, the casket doesn't really become a weapon. It just always gets to where, okay, I've got my guy weak. I'm going to put him in. I'm going to shut the lid. Oh no, now you're fighting me. You're pushing the lid back. In this one in Lucha Underground, that casket was a weapon. They rolled it in the ring. They slammed each other onto it. And not only, even when they weren't using the casket, they beat the bejesus out of each other.
yes. In Phoenix, pardon the expression, is now wearing a crimson mask.
Oh, yeah, and part of his mask, Mil Muertes even ripped part of it.
Yeah, in Phoenix, like, just saying the name Phoenix, you know who he is. It's like he's a bird that will not stay down. And the fact that he
And
can
if
fly.
and if he does, he will rise again.
Yes. I mean, and then there's my absolute favorite character, King Cuerno.
The Hunter.
They really, I really like his character just because it's like he stalks his prey, and then when he attacks, he makes sure he doesn't miss. In fact,
Yes.
he rarely, if ever, misses. And what more can I say about him that I haven't said about him yet?
Oh man, I mean Lucha Underground is so fun. You know, I ironically before we were doing our little talk here, while I was catching up on some of my YouTube videos, there was one that I put in my queue because it was Jim Cornette actually, probably from one of his radio interviews talking about Lucha Underground.
Yes.
Believe it or not, he hates it.
Are you okay?
He absolutely hates it. I mean, 100% hates it. He thinks those movie style cutscenes because he's like none of it's believable, so he just hates it.
Wow. Just
He says the best thing that can happen to him is they go underground and they stay underground, and I'll kick some dirt on top of them.
wow. Just I'm like I like it just because it's different.
I mean, Jim Cornette, he's a smart guy. He is freaking brilliant. In fact, he was one of the guests that came in to Metro Pro Wrestling last year. I did the Q&A with him. Super cool guy. Super awesome with us fans. He seemed to genuinely enjoy interacting with us. I got nothing against it, but I was shocked as hell when I listened to that on the video, and I'm like, really? It's like, don't you have at least a little imagination there? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not traditional pro wrestling that you did back with the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. It's something different, but it's fun.
Yes.
And I'm not knocking the old school stuff. Hell, I'm watching it on WWE Network. I love it because there was more energy there. There was the bad guys. You really hated them. They had ways of really getting under your skin.
Exactly. But let's get back to Lucha Underground though
Yeah,
before we get off topic. And then there's let's see what's his name?
Drago.
Drago. Yes, he's pretty cool too in the fact that you believe that he's a dragon. And the fact that he just you know, he's this mythical creature just like Phoenix is.
It's kind of weird. I always think that Drago, he's more of a face character simply because when you look at him, he's kind of scary looking.
Yeah.
Especially
Sometimes
when he does that thing with that tongue that he has.
Yeah, you would think he's scary, but the fact that the fans love him, it's like okay, it's he's booked to be a face, and yet it still works.
Yeah,
People love him. And then who else is still with
Pentagon
us?
Jr.
Oh, Seattle Metal, or I can't even pronounce it.
Oh,
The guy can break arms. In fact, when he first started out, he was just nothing too special. But then when he started getting serious, breaking people's arms, what did you think of that?
that added an intensity level. And then when he started, and especially when it really stood out was when he was going after like the one that started the thing with Vampiro. He went after the ring announcer,
Oh, Melissa Santos.
and he had her set up, and Vampiro was like, "Oh no, I'm not having this," and he ran in the ring and knocked him off of her.
Yes, I remember that.
And that added just that scene there. That added so much. Like there was an intensity because Vampiro jumping up and doing that. It felt like a real moment, even though you knew it was scripted, like most all of it. It felt like a real moment, and that's amazing. Lucha Underground does that so well.
It's like you believe in what they do. It's like, oh my god, I really want to see more of it. And in fact, that's all I can think of is I want to see more. Damn it!
Yeah,
And then
when I talk to people sometimes, like customers at work, I work in a little diner. Um, I'll compare it directly, really, to any TV show or any movie.
yes,
It doesn't matter if it's your favorite actor ever, but he's playing the villain. You want to feel like you hate him. You want to feel, first of all, you want to feel, period.
yes,
You want to feel like you hate him, even though you like the guy playing him. And Lucha Underground makes you feel
yes.
simple.
Though I never really hated Pentagon Jr. that far, but I was like, oh,
Yeah,
please do not do it. You better not do it. And then it has to build up though, like you said.
you
And
felt something though. Either way, you still feel something for the character or the opposing character.
yes, and then there's the former trios champions, the team of Ivalice, Angelico, and Son of Havoc.
Uh huh.
Like Son of Havoc, oh my god, is he started with a losing streak, and yet once he
Yes.
got out of it, my god, he really clicked with the fans. Like originally he was supposed to be a heel, but the fact that the fans loved him too much, they just was like, okay, we have to rescript it a little bit differently, and it worked.
Well, sometimes I'm not sure. I mean, Lucha Underground, they may listen to the fans, but they might also have that master plan of we're going to start them this way and evolve them that way. I mean, it's hard to tell. They're such a unique thing that they do.
Yeah, it's hell. It's even hard to tell if that was even their intent or not, or if that was actually part of their master plan, like you said. So that's another part of the mystique
But
of.
it worked.
But it
Like you
worked.
said, it worked. Bottom line,
But it worked. And then there's Angelico. It,
he's
it,
just amazing.
he's amazing, especially with that like not only his moves, but the one move, the dive off the roof of Dario Cueto's office in the ring.
All
On
the way to the ring.
like, how did he do it? It's like most guys would never try that. Better yet,
No,
WWE would never allow it. But he did it.
I'd say on a shoot. I mean, obviously in character is one thing. On a shoot, you have to trust the guy that you're jumping at that he's going to soften your landing.
No doubt.
But even still, it's like that was just insane. I love how they also use the arena like that. Like they'll fight up there and they'll be on top of the office, or they had the one time I think someone got chokeslammed through into the office.
Yeah. I think it was thrown into the office. That would be Johnny Mundo throwing Alberto. Well, not.
That happened too. Yeah, when I think when he attacked him, he wasn't even in the match and threw him into the window for the office.
Yeah, and it was a no disqualification match, so there was nothing the referee could do about it. And the
It
fact that
wasn't Dario Cueto on the phone at that time.
I
Or
think
was that a different match? Now, I know there was something that happened one time that went into the office, and Dario Cueto, he just kind of reacting like he's on the phone and he's going, "Whoa, wait, what's going on here?"
no doubt, no
And
doubt.
it looks so good. It just makes it seem like it happened, like as if he really didn't know.
Yes. And okay, and then there's Eva Lise as well as Sexy Star. Eva Lise, she makes no bones about it. She's the baddest woman in the building.
The baddest bitch in the building, I think she actually said.
Well, I was trying to go PG, but okay, thank you very much. And then
Hey, she said it. That's a quote.
it is, and the fact that she just makes no bones about it. And then of course there's Sexy Star.
She's awesome.
Yeah, and the fact that she just fights for what she believes in, and she's a very strong character.
And that's another thing with Lucha Underground. The women can wrestle the guys.
Yeah, that's
In
something.
WWE, they don't have this. Oh no, you can't touch them. Can't touch each other. I mean, I get it could be a sensitive thing, the guy versus. But the thing is, it's gonna be set up whether in this current moment or in the story where the woman is going to be strong. She is going to get, an advantage, or she's at least going to look strong in the end.
Yes, and even the recent main event with Eva Lise and Mil Muertes, that the fact that she was within 1 second of becoming the Lucha Underground champion, you believed at that point. I'm like, oh my god, she could have done it. Like, that's something you can't get with WWE nowadays. And then, let's see, other people.
Oh, how about the couple of unique characters? Mascarita Sagrada, the midget.
Yeah. Too bad we haven't seen him very much of him, but he's a really little guy, and the fact that he does everything so well, and the fact that, in fact, he even beat Son of Havoc during that losing streak that he had. But
And again, the midgets get to wrestle the normal size guys.
yeah, exactly. There's no restrictions whatsoever.
How about the one Exotica character? Pimpinella Escarlata.
Yes, or Scarlet.
Pimpy.
Yeah, Scarlet Pumpernickel. That's the name in English, but yeah,
It's
the
like it's actually a guy. You think it's a girl because he's doing the feminine thing.
it's a guy in drag.
Yeah. But you know what's so funny? Normally, a character like that, like if it was WWE or anyone else, they would automatically be the heel because they're just too different. No, in Lucha Underground, he's the good guy because it's like a party. Everybody loves it. It's like he comes down, the music's playing, and it's just like, yay!
Yeah, it's a fun character.
Yeah.
It's a fun character. And then let's see who else. Um, I guess really the only other characters I could think of is what's his name?
Cage.
Cage. Yes, Cage is amazing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Cage is not a man.
He's a machine.
In fact, Cage. When I first saw him, I'm like, okay, they're bringing in, they're kind of going the WWE route. I was kind of afraid like they were gonna go that route, but no, Cage is not your typical big man. In fact, not only does he not wrestle like a typical big man, he does not act like a typical big man. Far from it. I mean, yeah, he can be a bully and he can, punk you out, and he can just, he can talk bad about you, and there's not really much you can do about it for most guys, but whenever he's in a tough match, especially against someone who not only is big and strong enough but has a chance against him, Cage is, when it comes down to it, he knows that he can wrestle a good match. I have not
Oh,
seen
yeah.
one bad match as far as Cage is concerned. It's like Cage cannot wrestle a bad match, unless storyline otherwise dictating
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But other than that, Cage has not had a bad match.
No, he's good. In fact, I can't think of a guy in Lucha Underground or girl that when they come out, I'm like, oh, really? WWE, there's a handful of them that they come out, and I'm just like, whatever. It's like everybody in Lucha Underground, whenever they come out, there obviously some you react bigger than others, but there's nobody that I feel like, oh, bathroom break.
Yes. I think the closest would have to be Marty the Moth, but even he's a
True.
good character though. Like, Like, in fact, one person said that he's not ready to be the Lucha Underground champion. Well, of course, he's not ready to be, but even so, in fact, I even went one step further to say that Son of Havoc is more ready to be the Lucha Underground champion than Marty the Moth. But even Marty the Moth is a very comical character, although he's kind of starting to act more like Bray Wyatt in a sense.
Yeah, he had that scene with Sexy Star in a very recent episode, as of this recording anyway, on Lucha Underground, where he had her, like, I don't know, tied up or whatever, and doing a thing with the butterfly in his hand.
Yeah, I.
Really creepy.
You know what? We'll find out. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out what his master plan is when it's all said and done. I would have to think there's something going on.
Oh, something else with Lucha Underground. How about taking a concept that we know from WWE and completely, like, revamping it into their own thing?
Oh yes,
I'm referring to the Gift of the Gods belt.
yes. For anyone who watches WWE, is more familiar with Money in the Bank, but what's the difference, Rick?
There's a few differences. First off, what they started with, and we didn't know what this was leading up to during season 1 of Lucha Underground.
No, we
There
didn't.
would be matches, and sometimes Dario Cueto would come out and say, "Oh, this is for one of these Aztec medallions. They're very important. They're worth a lot." But he never told you what the real point was.
That's the
So
thing.
through the, go ahead.
That's the thing. I mean, you don't know what it's about until it's too not late, but until it's finally revealed. But then go ahead after
And
that.
it's worth the build up. That's the thing too. It's kind of like comparing to this last Royal Rumble. It was the Royal Rumble itself was fun this last time around, but then it had that ending that was kind of like, really, with these medallions. It's like, okay, this person would win. Sometimes he would do it in a one-on-one match. Sometimes it was a multi-way match, and so you have all these people getting these medallions, and it's kind of like, what is this leading to? Then he finally reveals it. 7 people have a medallion. They are going to be in a 7-way match. The winner will then get this Gift of the Gods belt, where and it's so cool looking because all the medallions fit right into the slots on the belt. And what this belt enables you to do, kind of like Money in the Bank, you get to turn it in for a title shot. However, you don't get to cash it in at any moment you choose. You can't just wait until the champion's beat down and go, boom, I want a match right now. Dario Cueto likes to promote his matches, so you have to announce it at least a week in advance.
That's
so,
that's a great concept.
so he can promote the match. But the other unique thing is this belt. It's like a normal championship belt. It can be defended in matches, which we actually saw on the very first season 2 episode of Lucha Underground. It was defended and lost.
Yeah, they really didn't mess around. In fact, they got straight down to it. It was Phoenix, the title holder, against my favorite, King Cuerno. And King Cuerno, you know, he may have taken a few shortcuts here or there just because he's the bad guy. But ultimately, though, he won the match and is now the current holder of the Gift of the Gods Championship. So of course, according to the storyline, he does not plan to cash it in at any time. At least not into, at least for as long as Mil Muertes is the champion, or at least that's the implication. But even so,
Why is that? Because they're both heels?
well, partly, but yeah, yeah, they're both heels. That's practically the only reason.
But we've seen in Lucha Underground that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah, true. I mean,
And how crazy would that match be?
if it came down to Mil Muertes and King Cuerno,
Oh,
that would be a great match. I'm not gonna lie. Just the fact that you have my favorite wrestler going up against one of the top monster heels.
and then of course the thing with the Gift of the Gods belt. Once it is cashed in, when someone does it, they announce that the medallions basically get taken out and redistributed in a series of matches. So they build up to having a new. So it's not just like you cash it in and now someone else is going to get the belt.
Oh yeah,
There will be a series of medallion matches, and then there will probably be the 7-way match, and there you go.
there you go. Yes.
And speaking of putting your spin on things, remember Aztec Warfare in Season 1 to crown the first champion?
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Their their spin on a Royal Rumble because it worked the same way, aka generically known as a gauntlet match. Except you didn't get thrown over the top rope. That was not a way to eliminate. In fact, there were no disqualifications at all. You were eliminated pinfall, submission, anything goes.
Yes, and that was how they crowned the first champion.
Oh my lord, that blew away any Royal Rumble I've ever seen.
In recent memory. I think the last great one that I enjoyed would have to be the 2007 Rumble. Just because of the finish. Although my personal favorite would have to be the 1998 Rumble, just because it was just one of those typical the ring fills up with a bunch of tired men, and it stayed that way until the end. Those are my favorite kind of Rumbles, but this one was amazing because like you knew who was number one and you knew who was number 20 in the sense that it was announced that you know going into that match there was a special provision where the loser ultimately would be number one and the winner would be number 20.
Yeah, there was a match between the two guys.
And the fact that you know you couldn't get eliminated by being thrown over the top rope, and the fact that you can exit the ring however you wish, but you had to get back in there just otherwise it would be as if you had been counted out or something like that.
I don't think it was even that. I think the pinfall submission just had to happen in the ring. The moment that sticks in my head, and when we were talking about Mascarita Sagrada, the midget, in this Aztec Warfare, there was one moment, and I mean, it just looked devastating. He jumped off, he like ran down the ring apron part way and jumped off to do a move like onto the floor, and he got drop kicked out of midair.
Oh my god.
And I mean, it just looked like, oh my god, because of course, being a midget, the impact just made it look that much bigger. He jumps off the ring apron going towards the floor, and whoever he was going at jumped up and just drop kicked him right out of midair. Like, oh my god, that was just, the visual was insane.
Yes, it was insane, man. It was just, oh my god.
And again, he was in that match, and I think Sexy Star was in that match. The men, the women, the midgets, they can all wrestle each other.
Yes, and I remember Chavo was in that match. And that was when, oh yeah, and you know, Pentagon Jr. was also in the match, but he was not quite the character that he later became.
Right.
He was still trying to test the waters himself, but at the time that was a great match, and the fact that it came down to of the final four, I remember distinctively. It was Sexy Star, Johnny Mundo, who entered at number 2, and Prince Puma entering at number 7, and Mil Muertes at number 20. Of course, Mil Muertes at the time was not the Mil Muertes we are now accustomed to, but still.
Oh, you remember that match even better than I do. I thought he entered at this number, he entered at that number. I'm like, I just remember a moment or two, and I just remember, again, the feel, the emotion. I was on the edge of my seat that whole match.
And I knew that, for Mil Muertes to be defeated, they would have to double team him, and which they did. They finally got rid of him. They double teamed him, and then when it came down to Mundo and Puma, in the end, Puma wanted it more, and that's how he got the title. Just by pulling it out.
Hey, you remember when they had the first title belt too? How was your reaction the same as me? Where it was like, that's a crappy looking belt.
Oh yeah, that's right. It kind of did look crappy, and then
But it was part of the story. It was probably already part of the story because wasn't it? God, who was it that ripped it? Was it Big Rick or was it?
it was Cage.
It was Cage. Okay, it was either him or Big Rick. I knew. Came out and, like ripped the belt in half or something. Ripped the arm, the strap off of it.
Yeah, and in the end, Cage did get his. I mean, I remember Conan hitting him with a steel cane, and it was just enough to stun him enough to have Prince Puma finally beat him. But but yeah, I mean, the fact that Prince Puma found ways to win just when you thought it was all lost, he just finds ways to win, and eventually Mil Muertes finally beat him. But the fact that he held on to it and found ways to win, it was just incredible how he did it.
And how about the way they did that in the last several episodes of season one as far as the top contender? Like WWE, they almost never switch contenders. Like, I mean, this year's Rumble, of course, was for the title, but usually it's whoever the contender is, he's going to wrestle at WrestleMania. He's the guy. Lucha Underground, that last several shows, I think the contendership changed 2 or 3 times. And the thing about it was it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel out of secret. It felt like, someone else wanted a shot, and Dario Cueto said, well, okay, if you beat him, then you're the contender.
Yeah, it was just it kind of felt like it was rushed, but then when I realized, oh, it's just part of the storyline, and with Dario Cueto being the character that he is, it makes sense.
It did. It worked, and it kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat as far as from episode to episode. Because and this is something you want in wrestling. There's a guy that I write to the local Metro Pro with, and he works with them. I mean, he's not a wrestler. He basically does the tickets and behind the scenes stuff. But it's just making you feel, making you intrigued, and at the end of a show, you want to feel like what's going to happen next, and you don't want to miss a show or you're going to miss something.
Yes, with WWE, I don't miss much. I can miss 3 shows, and I would be like, oh, so this is still going on? Really?
There is one thing WWE does, although it's extremely freaking rare, but when it happens, it's awesome. What I call a moment.
And they don't have very many moments. But
No, but when they have, like when Sting came out on Survivor Series,
that was a moment.
nobody does that like WWE. That was amazing.
I would have to think that Lucha Underground would be a close second.
Yeah, it's just that they're more likely to do it and that kind of thing, which is good because again, you want to watch because I don't want to miss anything.
I don't want to miss anything either. And
And you don't want to get it spoiled either. You don't want to read something on it and then you go, oh man, because you like feeling the moment of not knowing. Like the
exactly.
first, you've seen season 2 so far.
Yeah, I've only seen the first 2 episodes and nothing more.
Okay, well that's all they've had so far. But like the first episode at the end of the match, the title match, when he was getting ready to break Evil Lee, or when he was getting ready to attack Evil Lee some more, and Puma came out. My reaction there was, oh yeah, it was kind of like, some people might have been like, yeah, but you'd probably know exactly what I'm talking about. They're like, oh yeah, because he was the champion before. And then after he had his thing and he got Evil Lee out of there, then Pentagon came out, and my first reaction when he came out before he actually attacked him, it was kind of it was a confusion, but also a little excitement. It was kind of like, wait, what's he doing out there? Of course, he attacks him, does the break his arm thing.
But what was your reaction when he actually did do it?
I was just kind of surprised, and I'm like, ooh, where does this leave him for the title in upcoming episodes?
I'm thinking that.
Is he going to have to try to defend it with a hurt arm?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
And then, of course, it was that last cinematic segment with the 3 guys looking for this fight club, and for the first time in the episode, you see Dario Cueto because Mil Muertes and Katrina. Katrina is the proprietor now of the temple, and you see Dario Cueto, and these guys are like looking for this fight club, and I was kind of like, okay, is he just letting them in the back door? And then he goes for the key that's around his neck, and I went, oh no. Unlocks the door, and they go in, and they say, so who's fighting? He says, you are. And now, again, I want to see what happens. What's the next part with this story? Because what's with his monster and him basically feeding the monster these guys?
I don't know, man. I really don't. It was just. It still intrigues me on what that storyline's going for, and I mean, and then some of the guys that have come in, they just wow. It's like some of the guys that you might remember, they're like I'm so happy to see them do much more than they did in the WWE or TNA or something like that. I'm like,
Alberto Del Rio.
yeah. Sadly, he came back to the E, and I'm like,
You know, I didn't. I obviously I never knew him before he was Alberto Del Rio in his first WWE run. So when he first appeared in Lucha Underground as Alberto El Patron, I was kind of like, really? But there was more to his personality there. It's like, man, I got to liking him because there was a fire there.
yeah. But now that he's back in WWE, it's more neutered.
And this is another thing with WWE, another complaint that I think exists with the writing team. They dumb people down, as I call it. I mean, how many times have we seen somebody that we know, whether it be from the indie scene or from maybe TNA or just anywhere else, and they come in and they're just like a shell of what they were.
You hit it on the head, man.
Almost nobody that comes in that you knew and really liked from somewhere else comes in and is even close to that. They get dumbed down into like everyone has the same move set in WWE, save for your signature moves and your finisher moves. Rey Mysterio used to love him in WCW in the cruiserweight division. Went to WWE. I mean, you know, still loved him then and everything because he's Rey Mysterio for Christ's sake. But he just wasn't quite the Rey Mysterio he was.
Yes. And I think the last thing we'll talk about, just because this video is going to be very, very long,
It's going to be about 500 parts.
probably. But I think
You'll
the
probably have
last.
to mix it in with another interview you do with somebody else and just do like, okay, here's part from this and here's part from that.
I suppose. But other than that, though, I would have to think that.